ما بعد أحبتي في الله، نعيش مع كتاب الله مع آيات من سورة النازعات مع قول سبحانه: هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى. My dear brothers and sisters, these ayat from Surah Al-Nazi'at from verse 15 and the following one. And a simple meaning for this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Exalted said: Has there reached you the story of Moses when his Lord called to him in the sacred valley of Tuwa? Go to Pharaoh, indeed he has transgressed. And say to him, would you be willing to purify yourself? And let me guide you to your Lord so you would fear him. And he showed him the greatest sign. But he, the Pharaoh, denied and disobeyed. Then he turned his back, driving, and he gathered his people and called out and said, I'm your most exalted Lord. So Allah seized him in punishment for the last and the first transgression. Indeed, in that is a lesson, warning for whoever would fear Allah. سأبدأ من الآية الأخيرة ليربط آخر الكلام بأوله. إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى. المولى سبحانه وتعالى يسوق المثل للعظة والعبرة. والكيس من اتعظ بغيره. ولهذا ضرب المولى سبحانه وتعالى المثل لكفار قريش في عنادهم، موجها الكلام للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، ولكن هذا من باب إياك يعني واسمعي يا جارة، فهو الكلام موجه لهم. فقال سبحانه هل أتاك حديث موسى. فلم يكن المقصد سرد قصة موسى، وإنما تذكيرهم بما حصل مع الأمم السابقة قبلهم وكيف كانت نهايتهم. وصل فرعون في الطغيان درجة لم يصلهم إليها، ومع ذلك الآن هو في الحضيض ويواجه نتاج ما عمل. فأراه الآية الكبرى، ومع مع كل الدلائل وما إليها وصل إلى ما ذلك، فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى. لذلك الكلام يا من تعاند، يا من لا تريد أن تفتح قلبك للهداية، إلى أين تريد أن تصل؟ إن لم تتعظ بغيرك فإنك ستواجه نفس المصير. ولذلك قال سبحانه إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى. I will start with the last verse, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed in that is a lesson, a warning for whoever would fear Allah. So when Allah will mention a story, there is a point behind. And here the lessons that you learn for yourself. And the smart person, the one he will take lessons from others. You don't want to wait until you get the same result and consequences for the same problem that facing others. You have to be smart and learn from the history. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding them through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said to him, هل أتاك حديث موسى. has there reached you the story of Musa? It's looks at as Allah talking to the Prophet, but actually He's talking to the Prophet but addressing them. Sometimes there's like Allah has a great example, but let's say there's a professor and he has a TA and has a student. Sometimes he will turn to the TA because he wants just the student to understand the message, not speaking to them directly. Maybe because he's angry at them or something, so something like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's turning to His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but He meant them. He wants them to listen. If you are not listening, you're going to face the same consequences. He reminded them about what happened with Musa alayhi salam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him as a guide to Fir'aun. هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالواد المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. طغى, he reached the level of transgression. Maybe no other person reached it. فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى. Like, there's hope for that person to be purified. فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى. And when you be guided, then Allah will put khashya, khushu', khashya, khawf, to fear Him as supposed to be. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you through that fear. And even He showed him the ayah kubra, the greatest verse and the greatest sign. Musa has many miracles, but the greatest sign Allah knows in this sense that the miracle when the stick turned to be a snake, where he was terrified most, Fir'aun. And a sign of that, when he brought those magicians, the magician challenged Musa for this. They turned their stick because they want to challenge Musa for that. So that's actually scared Fir'aun most. And even after all of that, and he saw in front of his eyes, he's still in a state of denying. كذب. He's not saying كذب Musa. He denied everything. وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى. And not only this, even tried to challenge again and again, and even called his people, and he declared at that time, instead of he believing in Allah, he said, the most exalted Lord. He believed that there's another Lord, but he's in that lordhood, you can say, and he thought he has some special status. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humiliated him in dunya, and He will humiliate him in akhirah, as seized him in punishment for the last and the first. And this is, a great example. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sent warning to somebody, that out of mercy, He wants that person to change his mind. Allah doesn't want to punish them. ما يفعل الله بعذابكم إن شكرتم وآمنتم. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to punish you if you are being thankful and a believer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to protect us from the hellfire. But we are the one choose to have that end. Sometimes you ask somebody, said, I'm going to pray when Allah will guide me, when Allah yahdini. What do you mean, like, guide you? Allah has guided you already. But you are the one, you don't want to take that guidance. You are the one rejecting it. Knowing that Allah, He commanded you to do so, that's guidance. He showed you the truth. But He gives you the free will to choose. And you have not chosen that yet. So do not blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and wait for the guidance for Him, because He's already guided you to the truth. So we have to take the lessons from the history, from the story of Prophet, from the people before us, and that might give us a great reminder. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revive our heart, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us not to die unless in a state of Islam. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.